Greetings, I am Dr. Noni Davis coming from St. C Academy. And today I wanted to do a quick intro to my topic with Baba Dick Gregory. And so here's the video.
Do you believe the American political system is sophisticated enough to deal with complex issues?
No, I believe it's too unethical, and that's where I believe it's going to swallow up itself. And I believe we're going to look around and have mass chaos in this country.
Chaos? You're talking about violence?
I'm talking about violence, yes. Because white folks are not going to tolerate being out of work. White folks are not going to tolerate being told they cannot own a house. White folks are not going to tolerate being told they can't go to Florida and get them some sun. And that's just what's fixing to happen. They ain't never had to worry about me. Because when I tore up something, I tore up my neighborhood. White folks will blow up the bridge. They will blow up the bank. And I'm saying if we don't look and see where this country is headed, because you have white folks in this country that's never been without a job, that's never been without a good job. When I got a good job, I was surprised. I never expected it. When I found out I was going to college, I was surprised. I was the hero in my neighborhood. It's expected for white folks to go to college, and all it wants, this lifestyle. There's only two people that can survive this country. The Indians will be able to survive it because they ain't never had gas up on them. They ain't never had a thermostat to turn down. And black folks might be able to survive it, provided we can get out all that silliness and stop trying to emulate something that we're not.
You keep talking as if something dire is going to happen. Chaos if the economy falls, a revolution if the political apparatus collapses. And yet, I don't see much evidence of that. I see instead resignation, disillusionment, a retreat into self-centeredness, the me decade. I don't see any sense of the flames that might flicker into real change.
I wouldn't see it neither if I wasn't watching the economy. And I'm not saying that we were cleaner back in that last depression or pure, but conditions forced me to live next to you as my brother, so I knew what dinner was. I don't know who lived next to me now. I don't know who's upstairs. I don't know who's downstairs. I know one thing, every other person got a gun. And when you live in a nation that would squawk more about registering their rifle than registering their children, then we're in trouble. We are completely in trouble.
So that was Baba Dick Gregory speaking to our present conditions, I believe, here where we have this level of violence going on. And so we live in a culture of violence, and he explains that in America, this culture of violence will only end when white people get tired. And so maybe they're tired now. I just don't know for sure. But I wanted to, so we're still working on where do we go from here. And it's very interesting because it's the same time frame that Dr. King was alive. I think that Dick Gregory at that time was in his early 30s, mid 30s or something like that. So here we go. Thus, through 2 centuries, the continuous indoctrination of America has separated people according to mythically superior and inferior qualities, while a democratic spirit of equality was evoked at the national ideal. These concepts of racism and schizophrenic duality of conduct remain deeply rooted in American thought today. Hey, baby girl. This tendency of the nation to take one step forward on the question of racial justice and then to take a step backward backward is still the pattern. So this violence, like he said, this is like Dick Gregory said, and Dr. King is affirming, is that we've been in this country since 1619. Every step forward that we've made, Europeans have they'll give it and then they take it away. Like they say you can't read, we refuse to let you read. Then you read, and then it's a problem. And then you desire freedom. Then you're crazy if you want your freedom because you don't understand that I am superior to you. And so there's this constant moving of the goalposts for what African Americans could do. There's always this constant battle of trying to maintain this status quo that's impossible because it's not true. It's just based on a lie. This tendency of the nation is, wait. Okay. So just as an ambivalent nation freed the slaves a century ago with no plan or program to make their freedom meaningful. And by the way, this is page 85 in the book. The still ambivalent nation in 1954 declared school segregation unconstitutional with no plan or program to make integration real. Just as the Congress passed the Civil Rights Bill in 1868 and refused to enforce it, the Congress passed the Civil Rights Bill in 1964, and to this day, in 1968, has failed to enforce it in all its dimensions. And we just got rid of DEI, okay, in affirmative action. Um, let's see, it refused for the Congress passed the Civil Rights Bill in 1964. That's right. So just as the 15th Amendment in 1870 proclaimed Negro suffrage only to permit its de facto withdrawal in half the nation, so in 1965 the voting rights law was passed and then permitted to languish with only fractional and half-hearted implementation. The civil rights measures of the 1960s engraved solemn rights in the legal literature, but after writing piecemeal and incomplete legislation and proclaiming its historic importance and magnificent prose, the American government left the Negro to make the unworkable work against entrenched in segregation of state power with almost total dependence economically on those who had to contend with and without political experience. The impoverished Negro was expected to usher in an era of freedom and plenty. And what's crazy is that we still did make tremendous strides. Every single time we've made tremendous strides without the help of Europeans. So Dr. King reveals that we have been in this mess for 300 years, from 1870s, 1865, and until European Americans come face to face with the roots of racism and dig up the poisonous trees and all its roots, the country is doomed. And 2026 is America's opportunity to end this foolishness once and for all, but I don't know if they will. To define much of white America is self-deluded on the commitment to equality and to apprehend the broad base on which it rests are not to enthrone pessimism. The racism of today is real, but the democratic spirit that has always faced it is equally real. The value in pulling racism out of its obscurity and stripping it of its rationalization lies in the confidence that it can be changed. Now, that was 1964. And this is now what? 2026. And once again, we're in another backlash. And so while we make these strides, we are constantly having to deal with this resistance. The value in pulling, let's see, what was it? Okay, to live with the pretense that racism is a doctrine of a very few is to disarm us in fighting it frontally. Is pervasive. As scientifically unsound, morally repugnant, and socially destructive, the prescription for the cure rests with the accurate diagnosis of the disease. A people who began a national life inspired by a vision of a society of brotherhood can redeem itself, but redemption can only come through a humble acknowledgement of guilt and an honest knowledge of self. So here we are. Many of us are witnessing the rise of resistance of European Americans in response to the orangutan dumpster fire that we now have in office and his administration. The moment their people began being killed, now it's a real problem. I mean, people were coming out, people were out here protesting, but they were seen as liberals who were just, you liberals are going too far. And Dr. King had a whole mouthful about for liberals, but the white when their people were getting killed, here we go. Oh my God, this has never happened before. And we even heard, I don't know if any of you heard about Instagram. On Instagram, a young lady posted, oh my God, can we just go back to a time where African Americans were the ones that were being shot by the police? Somebody literally posted that. Now, I don't know if it was just, AI or whatever, but somebody, even if it was AI created, somebody posted that. And so that's the sentiment, unfortunately, among too many European Americans. But I just feel like, these people don't know their own history. If only European Americans knew the real history of their treatment in America by wealthy white people. And for example, we all know about Ghislaine Maxwell. Well, do we know that her father, what was his name? Robert Maxwell? I think it was yeah. That dude, her father, uh, was interested and actually financially invested in American textbooks and curriculum like McGraw-Hill. And he was in competition with what is it, Rupert Murdoch in Europe. Rupert Murdoch bought. It was in charge of the publishing companies that were doing curriculum in England, and then this dude Bezos. These people are buying uh, uh, publications for a school curriculum. Why are they buying? Why? And while they may not have direct contact, or maybe they're not doing the curriculum and the creation of the curriculum, but just the mere presence of these people um, being in alignment with education. And then we know Rupert Murdoch is a criminal. We know that this Ghislaine Maxwell's daddy is a criminal, and Bezos, we know he's a criminal. The way he treats his Amazon workers is outrageous. And then who else was it that I heard? Oh, even Rockefeller. All of these people at their core want to control education so that they can, because they don't want an educated populace. And they said it over and over again. Um, these people are racist and want to determine the control of educational institutions by purchasing publishing houses of educational materials and curriculum. So according to watcherfiles.com, they literally wanted to decimate scientific knowledge, critical thinking in order to ensure control over economic systems to create free labor slash slavery. This is not for Black people only. This is for white people. They want a ceaseless growth of demand. So they want to keep you poor, but constantly inundate you with this commercialism and just purchase, buy stuff. And so these are mentally ill people at the top who really believe that their life's purpose is to control you. So back to European Americans, just like we often hear this, I know everybody has heard this phrase. If you want to hide something from a Black person, put it in a book. Well, I believe my thing is going to be, if you want to hide something, if you want to confuse white people, put a fairy tale in a book and call it history. They have been dumbing everyone down since the 80s. And so, or since we've been here. I mean, because they say Rockefeller was doing this stuff too. So European Americans don't want to know, they don't know their own history. And I'm not trying to say that what happened to them was as bad as what happened to Africans, because one thing about it, their whiteness did protect them somewhat. It protected them somewhat, but not a whole lot more. They were the one, they had indentured servitude. Some of them were kidnapped and sold and forced to come to this landmass to France. Women were kidnapped and forced to marry these Canadian men who were hunters and trappers, and to keep them from leaving the colonies. The French government said, well, let's go get these women, and they went and begged poor families, how many children you have? Can you feed everybody? You can't? Okay, we'll take some of them off your hand. And they shipped them over here. That was traumatic. And then, and some of them may want to come, but I just don't think all of them. And because it wasn't easy over here. And one of the things that these Europeans could do, at least they could escape from one colony to another. Black people did not have that luxury. And then Native Americans were also able to absorb themselves into, they knew the land, and they were able to leave and just go somewhere else. But these people were killed in those relentless wars. When you read Born in Blackness, the whole thing from Portugal was fighting with Spain and fighting with Spain to maintain the gold. They found access to gold in Elmina, Ghana, and they said, okay, we're going to had to go to the church and get the church to divide up. Unbelievable. The latitude. They said, Spain, you could have this side, and that was for us, it was North America and South America for Spain. And then on the other side, the Portuguese got to keep Africa. And so they had Ghana, and they later on went to Congo, and they ended up in Angola, but they started out in Guinea-Bissau, where my ancestors are from. My ancestors in Guinea-Bissau speak Portuguese. I was like, what? Anyway, so they divided up the map. And so the Spanish, and that's why you have all these Spanish speaking, all the Caribbean and several of, all of South America, most of Latin America also are speaking Spanish. And then you have a few of the countries in the Caribbean that speak the English, but like Barbados and, a few others like Trinidad, Tobago, but a lot of these places speak Spanish or French. And Brazil has Portugal has Brazil. But the Portuguese, the French, the Spain, the Dutch, and Britain were right out here in the ocean fighting. And who are the soldiers? Those are poor white people. Poor white people were sent into these colonies. They were the ones that were forced to inhabit these colonies and do this war. We got Bacon's Rebellion here in the 1700s. And let's not forget the labor wars in Europe and America during the Industrial Revolution. They were giving them sugar. They had poor diets, and they're like, we'll give you a little sugar to give you a high so you can work, and you just had them in the worst working conditions, in the worst living conditions. So the U.S. doesn't love Europeans. They don't love white people either. It's the ultimate delusion. And that's what he was saying, that they are deluded into thinking that they have something. They don't. And so they better wake up. Education is elevation. A nod to Consciously, who is on Instagram. That's one of his phrases. Education is elevation for everybody. Now, Americans as a whole have allowed the wealthy to convince them that it's okay to be ignorant, dumb, and stupid. I hear people all the time, I need to go to college and And I'm not saying everybody has to go to college, but I think everybody needs to be well skilled. And so we have a lot of people out here who they're not going to college, but are you a welder? Are you an electrician? Are you a carpenter? Are you a construction worker? Do you know how to do roofing? Do you know how to do lay floors? What do you know how to do? And are you a landscaper? And are you skilled at this stuff? And so, education is not just reading and writing and arithmetic. It is skilled labor. And a lot, when this whole crisis came down, these reason why so many of these farms are being bankrupted is because they don't have enough labor. They're people who don't know how to pick picking oranges is not no layback job. There's a skill set. You have to know what to pick, when to pick, how to store it, where to place it, what oranges are ripe, which ones are not, which ones need to be picked on Friday because they ain't ready yet. There's a whole lot of skills that are involved in these things. And it is intensely hard labor and very long hours. And so, like I said, I'm not talking about skilled labor. I'm talking about people who are anti-education, those who don't value reading, science, mathematics, critical thinking, and prefer foolishness, operating at their lowest instead of seeking to rise to their greatest. And those are the people I'm talking about. So pick up here with in a state of disillusionment. Okay, wait. So this was, what was it? The son who walked away. I can't remember. It's in the Bible, and it's a parable about One son decided he wanted to leave and uh, do his own thing, and he left the other brother to do all the work. So Jesus once told a parable of a young man who left home and wandered into a far country where he sought life and adventure after adventure, but he found only frustration and bewilderment. The farther he moved from his father's house, the closer he came to the house of despair. And after the boy had wasted all, a famine developed in the land. He ended up seeking food in a pig's trough. But the story does not end here. In a state of disillusionment, frustration and homesickness, the boy came to himself and said, I will arise and go to my father's house. I'm going back home. And he and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. The prodigal son was not himself when he left his father's house, or when he dreamed that pleasure was the end of life. Only when he made up his mind to go home and be a son again did he come to himself. The boy returned home to find a loving father waiting with outstretched arms and a heart filled with joy. This is an analogy to white America. To what white America confronts today. Like all human analogies, it is imperfect, but it does suggest some parallels worth considering. America has strayed to the far country of racism. Y'all went out there, you thought that was cool, you got this ego, and you say, you know what? At least I got my whiteness, so I'm better than you. And the home that all too many Americans left was solidly structured idealistically. Its pillars were soundly grounded in the insights of our Judeo-Christian heritage. All men are made in the image of God. All men are brothers. All men are created equal. Every man is heir to a legacy of dignity and worth. So you wrote this whole document, but of course, my argument is that this is men, and it should have been people or humans, but I think we ought to even just all earth creation. Why we got to, delineate. Every man has rights that are neither conferred by or derived from the state. So the state doesn't decide who's human or not. That's God. They are God-given. And so we have this marvelous foundation for any home. What a glorious place to inhabit. But America strayed away. And then they started this exclusion, because even when they wrote it, they weren't talking about poor white people. They weren't talking about women. They were only talking about wealthy men who own land. That's who that was written for. It has driven wisdom from the throne. This excursion has brought confusion and bewilderment. It has left hearts aching with guilt and minds distorted with irrationality, and has driven wisdom from the throne. This long and callous sojourn in the far country of racism has brought a moral and spiritual famine to the nation. And we're back in famine again. So, we've never left it, because you've always had this people who are easily agitated by the idea that a Black person could own a home in their community, or Black person can own a home anywhere in America. But it is not too late to return home. I don't know. If America would come to herself and return to her true home, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, she would get the democratic create a new authentic ring and kindle the imagination of mankind and fire the souls of men. If she fails, she'll be victimized with the ultimate social psychosis that can lead only to national suicide. And are we not in the midst of self-destruction? Oh my goodness. So Americans as a whole.
You breaking it down and everything like that, breaking it down big time, needs to be broken down and everything like that. I know that we lost a great one and everything.
Jesse
passed away today and everything like that. So I've got one more video for you before you get ready to get out of here.
Okay, go ahead.
You might enjoy this one, because
yes, I will.
All about I am somebody and everybody. So check this out and everything, and then maybe we'll hear some more of your commentary on where we are. But check out Jesse, who we just lost, and this was from a long time ago. This was back in 1971 when he appeared on the Sesame Street. So check this out.
Oh, ready on the stump? Yeah. Okay, here we go. I am somebody. I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody. I may be young, but I Somebody. I may be on welfare. But I am. Somebody. I may be small. But I am. Somebody. I may make a mistake. But I am. Somebody. My clothes are different. My face is different. My hair is different. But I am. Somebody. I am black, brown, white. I speak a different language. But I must be respected, protected, never rejected. I am God's child. I am somebody. Give yourself a big hand.
That's our age group, right?
Right.
All those kids,
Yep.
all those kids are look like us now, right? Because 71, I was what, 10?
Yeah, 71, I was 9 years old, because I was born in
Yeah.
52 and everything like that. So I was 9 years old when he was a young adult in his 20s or something like that, and
Yeah.
probably about my dad's age and everything along those lines.
Right. Yeah.
Because
So that's our age
dad
group.
is 85, so that would be 86 in June. So yeah, and Jesse passed at 84, so Jesse is about maybe 2 years younger than Dad, or a year and a half, 2 years younger than Dad and everything.
He and my mom are the same age. So yeah. And he's an icon. And so I remember growing up on that. And so we had so much hope because we had a whole generation of children who were in these integrated schools. And I'm like, how are we still here?
Yeah.
How are we still here? I mean,
Yeah.
Barack Obama is our age, right?
Barack is in his 60s, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So he's the same age as we are.
Right.
And they lost their mind when he came through. So
just want to share that with y'all that you could
thank
continue
you.
to wrap up.
I need to have a bell. I wish I had a bell because I would ring it for Baba. But you know what? He is. Oh, when he get there about 40 days from now, he's gonna be lighting this stuff up.
Oh yeah.
There's just around. He's gonna be tearing it up. So instead of accepting, oh my goodness, that thing takes me back. How we really thought we had conquered and overcome some of this foolishness, and that was 1971, and here we are. Instead of accepting the humanity of all nations, European Americans, too many of them believed the lies. They were deceived by their own people. Yep, they played with our history, attacked DEI, but look what happened to them. They whitewashed their history as well. They have removed the stories of the bombs dropped on Appalachia. I live right here in North Carolina. I don't remember reading that in my textbooks. When miners were demanding better wages and they were joining with African Americans who had been brought in to lower the cost of lower the wage rates. And so instead of getting rid of them, they said, well, you come on and join with us. And they dropped bombs on that place, just like they dropped bombs on Tulsa and all of that. So they arrested, killed bomb workers in small towns. How many times have we heard about these small towns where folks were, the company will come in and take over the whole community, and everybody is now subjected to this foolishness. The sheriff they control the sheriff, they control the mayor, they control the school board, the city council, all of that, and ensure that they maintain power. And people are controlled and under in poverty. So, however, civil rights, the legislation that African Americans have fought for, benefited everyone. And now we're in a situation where these white folks are finding out. Whoa, Social Security, these programs that were created to help everybody, they're taking that. Obamacare, they're taking that. Women's rights. White women didn't really understand that they were the beneficiaries of affirmative action. A few of us may have gotten in there, but most of us didn't. So Imagine how our country has refused to listen to our pleas to stop endless wars. The government refuses because of the billionaires making money. Poverty could end tomorrow if we just changed our priorities with and let's see with our budget. So miseducation, undereducation has created a culture of stupidity, a lack of critical thinking, anti-education, celebrating ignorance, which has led to America unable to develop innovative technology that would benefit everyone. And we're looking at these other countries moving past us. Uh, uh, in China, it is 66% cheaper to live in China. Their EV cars, an EV car in the United States is what, 22,000, something like that. There's based on the American dollar are between $4,000 and $7,500. I saw that yesterday. And we don't even want to talk about, they got their issues. China is not perfect. But oh my God. So our racism is destroying our country. And hopefully these white people will finally get, and Dr. King, I know we all tired, but we got to call on our ancestors and see and pray that these folks, oh yeah, Teslas, they're more efficient than Teslas, and they cost 4,000 to 7,800 American dollars. Have mercy. So that's all that I have today. And ashe.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I know my mother.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I can play the drum.
I'm a St. Cia student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Cia student.